I thought this stint was supposed to be at night. Okay, well, anyway, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we're preparing to get underway for our third stint here in TORA's 24 Hours of LeMans in the C lobby. Our first two stints have been pretty interesting, all things considered. Real quickly, just a quick rundown on some of the stuff that's been going on thus far today. Stint 1 didn't have the biggest amount of on-track action, but had a lot of stuff going on in terms of controversy. In the prototype category, Zabri was faster, took the lead on lap 3 in the prototypes, but then had a crash on lap 5 and fell to second to last, ended up finishing third to last in category. That gave DrIce an easy victory. But in the GT category in Stint 1, it was Lucas in the Ferrari who dominated the event for the most part. But ZR Amaryllis in the Porsche got on an alternate strategy, went really long on the first stint, and used that to leapfrog himself just a little bit behind Lucas. Lucas, though, then spun while leading, fell to third, and he did claw his way back up to second, but he did so by doing a massive amount of track cutting in the last 15 minutes. But Amaryllis, who ended up being first at the end of Stint 1, did not make his final stop until after the stint. After the required time to submit all your final stops, you have to do all your stops in a race within the first 90 minutes. He didn't do his final stop until after that. So first and second likely have big amounts of penalties after that first stint, which could give third place stint victory in GT to the Ford GT entry of Enrique. Stint 2, prototypes were pretty straightforward. Outside, not really a whole lot going on outside of Zabri. Zabri again had a gigantic crash while fighting for second, completely destroyed the front and nose of the car and the Porsche curbs, pitted, and actually fought his way back up to the grid, took a third place in the end. Rumor is that there may be some penalties coming to him. We'll see later. But Zabri did a fantastic last the first drive again there. Other than that, it was very kind of forgettable. One of the Apex drivers ended up just kind of walking off and dominating the entire event. TJ, who started on pole in the car that won Stint 1, fell to dead last of all the remaining prototypes. But in the GT, the first 70 minutes of that 100-minute stint, there was an incredible fight for a top 5 position pretty much all the way through. Lucas seemed to have a very slight edge with most of the field. Only then his controller disconnected and stayed disconnected for about a full minute. Took him well out of a fight for a top 5 result. Then it went to a seller who seemed to have a small advantage, but then he had a crash along with LMP Flo. Now, Flo was able to continue, but it was a crash coming right out of the first Mulsanne chicane, so that took Acceler completely out of the rain. I think Acceler was like 10th at the end of it. Completely took him out of it. That put Racing Bacon into the lead and gave Racing Bacon the stint win in the GT category. Also, Ilwin in the Ford GT had made it 3 wide with maybe Racing and Lucas going into the Indianapolis and Arnage section on the first lap. Ilwin spun out, did not hit anything, but fell to last. Despite that, Ilwin dug deep and fought all the way back up to a 4th place finish in GT. So Stint 2, very, very crazy, very, very chaotic. Real quickly, let's look at some of the drivers who will be running here in this stint. We do not seem to have paint schemes for anyone here. Hopefully that gets fixed before we load onto the circuit properly. But Racing Bacon will be going back-to-back in stints here. Then you'll have Seedorf, who's also going back-to-back in stints. RZM Renaud going to be in the Ferrari. AMS Kempati Rampasama is going to be in the TSO 40. LMP Canry and is going to be in the BMW. Henrique, who got third and might have actually won overall in Stint 1, is going to be coming back. Virage FM will be in another BMW M8. HYR Warner in another Ferrari. VGT Go Godzilla is going to be in the BMW M8. Scenarius is going to be in one of the Audis. Viper 55 is going back into the Porsches. EMC Timanter is going to be in another Porsche. Microbio 4187 will be back in the TSO 40. THR Van Thor is going to be in another TSO 40. Scored Buffalo, the star of IFEA, will be trying to recover some results, because while maybe racing has been very competitive, especially in the second stint, that BMW entry has yet to get a top 5 result in GT, so Scored Buffalo here will be trying to fix that. DrIce, who won Stint 1, is going to be coming back here for Stint 3. Then it's going to be Koshi, who is in the number, well, we don't know the number actually, but Koshi is going to be one of the Ford GT entries. MRT Jackal in the Audi, AMS Carver, and another Ford GT. EMS Hyphon is going back-to-back on stints, I believe, in a BMW. Goodie Bag 69 is going to be in a TSO 40, and right now that is all the drivers we have in the lobby at the moment. I still anticipate we're going to see the lobby settings shift at some point, but just in case they don't, because I thought, if I read correctly, the first 2 stints were daytime and this stint should be in the night, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, for right now, we're just standing by waiting for a last driver to get here, and potentially waiting for a slight lobby change when it comes to the timing. Yeah, it should be 2000. Oh, there we are. Yep, it's definitely changed now. All right. Well, so as you can see, it's not night, but it is very late evening, and the track will be completely dark probably within about 20 minutes. We're going to knock out one more ad break here so we can try and get ahead of ad breaks before we get deep into the event. We'll be back shortly here at LeMans. All right, welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. We are still waiting to load onto the track proper to begin our third stint here. I think we might still be waiting on one more driver. Don't quote me on that, but I think we are still waiting on one more driver, and a few other people haven't yet readied up yet. We won't really be able to see anyone's paint schemes until we've loaded onto the circuit. I've already given you a bit of a catch-up as to what the first 2 stints were looking like at this moment. We might be short a driver here coming into stint 3. We'll see shortly here. I hope anyone who is here watching right now will go ahead and take this moment to go get something to drink or use the bathroom, because it looks like we will be racing in about 4 minutes' time. Well, all right. Lobby immediately seems to have a problem. All right. Well, so much for that, I guess. We'll try this again. Yeah, we've lost somebody right away. Basically, the moment we load onto the circuit, we lost somebody, it seems. All right, so now we start seeing the lobby falling back behind in time. Oh, I think we've got everyone now, though. I think we've got all 22 drivers now, though. Loading time. Open up your heart and it will feel alright. Alright, here we go. Loading onto the circuit proper now. Take two. Alright, here we are, loading onto the circuit proper now. Here we are, here's DrIce. So once again, he started on the pole in Stint 1, won Stint 1 from the pole. DrIce will be starting at the head of the field here in Stint 3, our first night stint. Behind him will be MRT Jackal in the number 45. While that should be Scenarius here in the number 822 machine. Then will be AMS Kampachi Rambasama with the number 656 machine. Then will be THR Van Thor, number 69. Nice. Then Goodie Bag 69 is in the 365 BTR machine, followed by Microbio in the number 27. Then last in the prototypes will be Sea Dwarf in the number 9. Then we get into the GT category, and that is Scored Buffalo in the number 531 machine. Following that will be Resno in the Ferrari 825, then AMS Carver in the 694, Henrique, another 4GT, the 411, then HYR Warner in the number 30 Ferrari, then will be VGT Godzilla in the 310 BMW, then Racing Bacon 96, who, well, no, apparently not. Bacon is way down. Then will be Viper then, I guess, in the number 44 Porsche, followed by EMS Hyphion will be in the 242 Porsche, then LMP Canary in the 824 BMW, then it will be, I believe that would be ZR Fabrics there in the 75 Porsche, then Koshi in the 73 Ford GT, then it would be Racing Bacon 96 in the 23 Porsche, and Virage FM will round out the back of the field. We're going to knock out an ad break here before we get underway here at Le Mans. All right, welcome back to Le Mans. As you can probably deduce, we were on track when I started that ad break, but then we've had some sort of issue. RZM Renault seems to have lagged out again. So, yeah, we're going to start up for our third different attempt this time now. So it'll be our third different attempt at trying to get everything going here. All right, loading onto the circuit. Take 3 now. Hopefully everything works this time. Fingers crossed. Apparently someone also was in the wrong car group as well. So that's not going to help, obviously. All right, here we go again. So this man here, DrIce, is going to try and put the freeze on the field again at the head of the grid. We'll go down the order once more here in just a bit, just in case you missed it earlier. All right, that was a quick rundown through the field there. Why is there a Porsche in Group 4? That is a good question. I didn't even know we had a Group 4. Hey, ZR Fabrics may be in the wrong category. Heads up. I don't know if... 1 second. I'll be back. I'm going to check something here. Hey, hey, real quick, is Fabrics in the right category? All right, we are already off and underway here, and we may have a bit of an issue here. We may have to do another lobby restart, but the leaders in the prototype category, at least, are back and underway here once more. There may be a hiccup with Fabrics' category. He would be in a massive handicap and disadvantage right now. We will see shortly. But with that in mind, already at the head of the field, Goodie Bag is trying to put a melting job on DrIce at the head of the grid as they go through the first chicane here. something that, yeah, it looks like they may have made a hiccup with Fabrics' setup. So with that in mind, we don't know how long the field is actually going to stay running or not. This would be their 4th attempt at a restart, and I don't know if they would allow a 4th attempt in a scenario like this. Normally, you're only allowed 3 attempts, but this would be the 4th attempt. We will see. If we go like 2-3 laps with nothing, then we'll know that they're not going to restart again. Fight for 4th and 5th right now between Jackal and Cenarius in the 822 and the 45 machine. Jackal trying to hold Cenarius off. Meanwhile, in GT category, it is the Ferrari of RZM Renault who leads. HYR Warner with another Ferrari runs in 2nd. Then it is the Ford GT of Henrique who is in 3rd. Henrique trying to run down Warner. Here's a fight farther back. This is Henry and Scored Buffalo. Buffalo trying to drag his car up into the top 5, and it looks like he's got it. So Buffalo now moves into 4th, ahead of Canry. And there may have already been a lag out. I don't see any lag out. So it seems like this start is official, despite the fact that it looks like Fabrics is in the wrong category. So any hope that the ZR team had of a good result has basically been completely bashed and killed with this. At the head of the GT category is 2 Ferraris and a Ford, as they come up into the Ford chicanes. Renault has it, Warner wants it, and Henrique is just hanging out in 3rd right now. Not pressing the issue too much, at least not right now. DrIce has already opened up a big gap on Goodie Bag and Sea Dwarf right now. Henrique gets tired into the dirt there, and that brings Scored Buffalo up into the fray. And Sea Dwarf has gotten by Goodie Bag here on the Mulsanne. The first Mulsanne chicane, and out, and already Sea Dwarf is gapping Goodie Bag. So it seems pretty obvious who's actually got the speed here. In GT is a drag hit race. Big twitch by Renault ahead of Warner. And Henrique's got to run, and so Scored Buffalo. Look at his 4 cars all on top of each other. There's room for everyone here. Warner falls to 3rd, and it is Renault versus Scored Buffalo, and already Buffalo, in just a little bit more than a lap, is trying to make the lead. They are 3 wide for a top position in GT. Someone's got to have to back out of it. It'll be Renault and Buffalo who backs out. Warner has the lead as they go into the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Henrique gets a bit of a run on exit, but it looks like Warner is now opening the gap just a little bit more. Flying down the back straightaway. It's a side-by-side battle between Buffalo and Renault, while Warner is trying to open the gap. Ferrari has performed well, but has not been at the lead at the end of either stint yet. Here comes Renault right behind Warner, kind of pushes Warner slightly offline. Buffalo has a great exit. Pulls up alongside Renault. Falls back in line behind. The Ferraris may just have enough of a straight line advantage to make it work. And Racing Bacon has fallen to last behind Fabrics. What has happened to Bacon? No damage as far as I can tell, but whatever has happened, it's really upended his day. It's a shame. After Bacon 1, Stint 1. Buffalo seems to be losing ground compared to the two Ferraris, at least in the straightaway sections. Renault content to hang out right behind Warner at the moment. Buffalo really closes in, and they're breaking. Big twitch by Warner right ahead of Renault. Renault's gonna have to go to the outside. He'll get on the brakes early, try to get a nice cleaner exit out of Arnage. The Ferraris may be faster in a straight line, but Warner does not seem to be in a great position right now. And already Cenarius in the pits. Is there damage on this car? Is he taking damage? Well, there's a little bit of engine damage, but I don't see why he would be pitting already. Strangeness. Fight for second, and the Ferrari bounces off the outside wall. He should still be good, should still be able to continue. That was a pretty flush, smooth hit. Warner slides, Renault slides. Buffalo has to back out to not run over the two Ferraris. And the top three are starting to pull away from Henrique. Into the four chicanes now. Those Ferraris are really kitted out for straight line speed, which makes me wonder how well they're going to handle as their tires start falling off. Here comes Squirt Buffalo to the inside. Will not push the issue. Oh, big slide by Warner. Well, not by Warner, by Renault, right in front of Squirt. That lets Warner open up a bit more of a gap. It seems very obvious to me that Buffalo is faster in the corners, but the Ferraris are fast up in the straights, and even with their big twitches and slides, they're still able to make it work. So Renault now looks to the inside of Warner. It's going to be a Ferrari drag race into the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. I think Warner will have to back out of it. He is not in a position to go deep. Oh, he's going to try and go deep anyway, but it's not going to work. Renault easily clears Warner, and Renault takes his red Ferrari back into the lead here in the GT category. Seems to me like the GT category is the one with the most action in the C lobby today. Buffalo just kind of hanging back there in third. Just going to let the Ferraris fight it out for a bit. He'll pick up the pieces once they've kind of figured out where they're going to be in relation to each other. Renault, really good in the first chicane, really bad in the second chicane, and all of a sudden, Warner comes back with a huge run. He's got a toe. Will he pull up alongside in the Mulsanne corner? Nose to tail for now. But it looks like Warner is just going to hang out. Not going to push the issue in the Mulsanne corner. All right, does Renault make a move this time? He's got the draft. He looks to the inside. Here it comes. Drag race between two Ferraris into the Indianapolis and Arnage corners. And Renault will actually pull out earlier, so Warner leads. Renault has a big slide behind the black and white Ferrari. But he looks to the inside. He is not going to push the issue. Will fall in line behind Warner. Coming out of Arnage. And now it's a nice straight run onto Porsche curves. Well, in prototypes, DrIce has opened up a nice solid lead early on. There is a bit of a fight between Campacci, Rafa Samba, and Microbio for 6th and 7th in the prototype category. But other than that, it seems like prototypes have already pretty much resolved where their positioning are going to be. The fight seems to be in GT. Top 2 run nose to tail, a pair of Ferraris. The scored Buffalo hanging out in 3rd, but not really pressing any issue. It looks to me like a lot of the battles are kind of resolving themselves much earlier in this stint than we were seeing last time. You have to go already back to 5th position to see this. This is between VGT Godzilla and LMP Canery. Godzilla's in that BMW that did a fantastic job early on. I'm not able to get a... for those of you who are asking for an idea on what the gaps are, because this is a timed race and not a lap distance race, I cannot give you time gaps between cars. Forza will not give me that option. But this should give you an idea as to what the gap is looking like in distance between DrIce and Seedorf. Then Seedorf is followed by Jackal. You can visibly see that. And EMC Timantiar seems to have had a disconnect already. That's kind of a shame because he was in a position to have an interesting little fight with Carver in the midfield, but now that seems to have gone away. Oh, swap for the lead apparently. Warner has gone off in the 2nd chicane. He's trying to cross him back over. Warner, Renault fighting for the lead in the GT category. The two of them are pulling away from scored Buffalo at this stage of the event. Drag race between 2 Ferraris. Into Mulsanne corner once more. Renault seems to have it. Warner has a better exit, but Renault has the track position. Looks inside, looks outside. Looks like he's going to commit to trying to make a move on the outside. Longer way around, but Warner has enough confidence in his car. He's going to try and beat the red Ferrari coming into Indianapolis. Heavy under braking. Big slide by Warner. That's a big slide by Warner. And Renault has a little bit better grip and holds his machine ahead. No, he drops tires in the dirt. Here comes Warner, but Warner is not going to make a big dive. He's being a little bit more restrained, a little bit more cautious. Excuse me. Over nose wide. Keeps it off the outside wall though. But the 2 Ferraris just spend so much time fighting between each other. It's keeping scored in the fray, and it's not really helping them in their overall distance runnings. Oh gosh, Renault really wide there. Had to back it way off to keep it on track. And Warner's got to run. Is he going to try and make a move coming into the forward chicanes? Not this time, not by the looks of it. Warner backs off, and now Scored is right back behind that black and white Ferrari as they come across the line once again. Warner powers onto the front straightaway. He's got to run. Looks to the inside. It should be a drag race into the Dunlop chicane. Renault has the inside line, dives deep, slides the car on exit though, but he's ahead of Warner, and that seems to be what matters the most. Oh, and Buffalo's there. He gets alongside Warner. And he's through. Buffalo goes up into the first position. Real quick, I want to check. Tire life, 27% for your lead Ferrari. For Buffalo, 25%. So Buffalo's got better tire wear overall. And third is Warner, 26%. But he's got a little bit of engine damage now, and that's not going to help him. That'll likely take him out of this fight. So Buffalo has a tire advantage. We've seen Buffalo a lot of times. He likes to really balance out the tire wear on all four corners of the car, and that gives him great advantage as these stints on the fuel and tires go on, and I think we're really seeing that now. About 20 minutes into the stint. Well, about 20 minutes. Yeah, no, about 20 minutes into the stint. And now Buffalo's coming to life. No, holding even. Ferrari slides. Buffalo backs out, lets the Ferrari burn up his tires. He has confidence that he'll be able to get him back on the straights or into the next braking zone. Now Buffalo looks to the outside. Drag race uphill and back down into Mulsanne corner. Renault's wide. Buffalo holds the inside. Renault's got the nose ahead, but Buffalo has the slightly tighter line around the inside. It'll be a drag race once more. But this time, instead of two Ferraris, it'll be a Ferrari and a BMW. And the BMW has better worn tires all over. Warner is right there. If one of these two make a mistake, he can maybe snipe a position off them. Renault makes a little bit of contact with Buffalo. He's sideways, gets into Buffalo just a little bit. Hampers both of them. Now Buffalo has the inside line, but not the ideal line of choice. Renault tries to cross over on exit, but the rear tires slide. He can't put the power down, and Buffalo is away. Seems to me like these positions are already decided. And now Renault is back under threat from Warner, as our top three go through the Porsche curves once again. And every single run we have seen Buffalo have in one of these TORA events, Buffalo's biggest strength is not necessarily his lap time, although his lap time is competitive. It is the managing of his tires and fuel. He's able to keep the tires nice and balanced. And here come our leaders into the pits. Buffalo will stay out for a little longer, so Renault is coming in. So does Warner and Henrique. Now Henry will stay out for a little longer. What of Virage, who is much farther down the order? Virage stays out as well. What of Koshi in the Ford GT here? Just as the prototype leader goes by. And yes, Koshi will be pitting as well. MRT Jack will pit out second in the prototype category. But DrIce is staying out a little bit longer. He's pulling more fuel. Has a little bit more tire life as well. And it looks like THR Vanthor is going to stay out a little bit longer also. So Buffalo leads in GT, took the lead on track, and right afterwards, Renault and Warner both pitted to put on new rubber. One of the Ferraris had a damaged engine, and is now on the road to recovery, hoping to run down the leader. They will be on fresher tires compared to Buffalo right now, whose tires will be a little bit more worn. 32% all the way around. AMS Kenpachi Rama Sama will pit out 7th in the Protos. Our top three, DrIce, Vanthor, and Goodie Bag in the Pros, all have yet to make their first stop. interestingly enough, DrIce is actually going to have to get by these last 3 GT cars. Now, he is far enough ahead of Van Thor, it shouldn't matter too much, but he's going to have to manually overtake Garage, Canary, and Scored Buffalo here. So I'm going to knock out an ad break, and when we come back, we'll see our current GT leaders make their first round of stops here at Le Mans. Welcome back to TORA's 24 Hours of Le Mans. While you were away, Carver and Godzilla spent about half of a lap side by side in their little fight in midfield. But the real interesting thing to watch, well, your prototype leaders are making their stops and your GT leaders are making their stops. So the question is going to be, where's Scored Buffalo going to end up in relation to RZ and Renault? On track, he overtook Renault off the virtue of having better balance on tire wear, took the lead on track, and now Renault did the undercut pit a lap earlier than Buffalo. Is Buffalo still going to be ahead of the Ferrari here once they come out of the pits? Virage is staying out on track for another lap. So Virage is going about 2 laps farther than everyone else right now. Where is Renault going to end up? We anticipate he should be ahead of Canary. But Buffalo is the real question. Coming out of the pit lane there, that is Buffalo. He has got a prototype right behind him. So DrIce, the prototype leader, gets by Buffalo immediately, and that actually holds Buffalo up a bit, puts Buffalo under threat from Renault. The Ferrari of Renault's got tires that are already nice and warm. He is tucked up behind Buffalo right now. Will he try and put the pressure on the BMW as they come onto the straights? Virage is still leading in GT, but that's only because he is on an alternate strategy. Here comes another one of the prototypes. That's Jackal in second, and we'll likely see third place in Seedorf come by shortly here. Renault gets alongside Buffalo. It's a drag race, but the Ferrari is much, much faster than Buffalo. Coming into the straightaway. He's got him. He's through. But you can hear the Ferrari struggling to put the power down on exit. Buffalo has the draft, and now he looks to the outside. So now the Buffalo's going to try and fight back, and around the outside goes Seedorf. Third place in the prototypes. He does not care about the GT fight at all. He has his own race he's running. And that's fourth place, THR Van Thor about to catch this duo. They are side by side coming up to the chicane. Van Thor has to back out, but Renault ahead of Buffalo still. We are 3 wide with the prototype. Renault has it. Buffalo falls back to second just for the moment. But now he's got the run on exit. Buffalo inside, Renault outside. They're still side by side. So a prolonged fight here at the head of the GT field. neck and neck in the Mulsanne corner. Does Buffalo push the issue? Yes, he does, and he'll hold it. So Buffalo gets the lead back from Renault as they come onto the longest straightaway here at Le Mans. And here comes Microbio. Another prototype cuts through real aggressively to get around them, and there's contact! Buffalo got hit by the prototype! That's going to compromise Buffalo significantly, and Renault clears Buffalo. Buffalo shouldn't have any damage from the incident, but that impact was enough to put Renault back ahead of the BMW without issue. And now here comes another prototype. That'll be goodie bags. Oh, and the Ferrari into the dirt. Goodie bags clears them all around the outside. Renault leads over scored Buffalo now. They're going to have Sinarius coming up and trying to catch them. He'll try to outrun them before they get into the Porsche curves. If they do that, then this duo won't have to worry about prototype traffic for a while. That's it. Okay, so it's just going to be mano y mano. Buffalo going to try and go to the inside. Lunge to the inside. BMW to the inside of the Ferrari. The Ferrari now has the inside for the following corner. Who's going to back out? Do either of them back out? No one's backing out, but Buffalo has the outside line advantage and is through. And there's just nothing that Renault can do. Buffalo's tires are about a lap fresher than Renault's, and while Renault has a significant straight line advantage, Buffalo, by being able to manage his tires better and going farther on the rubber earlier, now Buffalo has a track position advantage and a tire advantage that is just going to continue to snowball as the event goes on. I think, unless Buffalo ends up in an accident, Buffalo is going to be the easy winner of this stint, which is how we normally see in these events. The IFEA team normally show up with drivers that are good upper midfielder, but then Buffalo will show up and win stints just off the back of being able to balance the tire wear across all four corners much, much better than anyone else in the category. It lets him do almost anything he wants when it comes to strategy. The fact that Renault is staying here and putting the pressure to Buffalo's feet and putting the fire to his feet as long as he is honestly impressive. But Renault is fighting a losing battle. The longer he is fighting with Buffalo, the more he is burning up his own tires. He's already a lap behind. Unless he can make Buffalo make a huge mistake. Oh, and Renault way off circuit there. And he ends up losing a bunch of time. He ran so wide he loses a huge chunk of time in the process. Well, that pretty much settles that. Because while Renault does have the straight line speed to run Buffalo down, I don't think he'll be able to get alongside. He lost probably a good second running wide through there. But he catches back up to Buffalo's rear. He's going to go dive to the inside. Oh, Buffalo saws the inside, though, on corner exit. Puts the power down smoothly and is already through. Warner is hanging out in third. He really wants to see Renault make a mistake so he can get back by that red Ferrari. Obviously, you'd probably love to see both of them have a big mistake, but I don't think that's happening. All right, Renault now uses straight line speed advantage in the Ferrari. He clears Buffalo. Buffalo says, all right, fine, you can have it. He gives Renault the position. We can see how much that Ferrari is sliding the rears out of these really slow corners. And Buffalo just kind of hangs out behind. And then when Renault has the lead, Buffalo just kind of hangs out in the draft, uses the draft to suck up, and if he so chooses, like he is now, he'll use the draft to pull alongside and have the inside line under braking. Renault pushes a little deeper. He'll hold the lead coming out of the Mulsanne corner this time. And Warner has almost caught this duo, almost has their draft. This trio is all on their own right now. Renault leads, Buffalo in second. Buffalo just kind of taking a more normal line. Oh my goodness, he's gonna try, he thought of it. He really thought about making the big lunge there, but did not commit to it. So Renault holds station for now. But now, after Ford made that big lunge, or like half a lunge and backed out, Warner is in play in this fight for a lead once again. Run up to the Porsche S's once again, the Porsche curves. Buffalo's been much, much stronger in these corners. This is where his setups really seem to have their strongest performance. Immediately closes in on Renault under braking as he tries to make it side by side through here. That Ferrari in the lead is sliding. Buffalo puts the bumper to him. The rear end of the Ferrari slides out just a bit, but Renault holds the ideal line, denies Buffalo a chance to get alongside. Now the Ferrari's all sorts of sideways as they come out of the Porsche curves. He maximizes power, puts the throttle down, tries to outrun the BMW to the Ford chicanes, and he'll do it just barely. But Buffalo immediately closes back in the first of the chicanes, now through the second. Renault drops a tire into the dirt. Buffalo is still right there now. And here comes 8th place in the prototypes, Kenpachi, but Kenpachi should be by this group in a straightaway. Buffalo clears, no, he's not cleared Renault. They're still side by side. As they come to the Dunlop chicane, Renault lunges. Buffalo backs out. Here comes Sideris. Will deny Buffalo the ideal line. Holds up Buffalo by a significant amount. So while Buffalo has a tire advantage, Renault is holding on just well enough, and a little bit of traffic management as well is keeping him ahead of Buffalo just for the moment. Kenpachi pitting, so I wonder if he's had an incident and we missed it, or if he's running an alternate strategy. But now Renault has a big lead on Buffalo. Has he got enough of a lead to break the draft? I think so. It looks like Renault has actually broken the draft against scored Buffalo. For now. The big thing, though, is that Buffalo will inevitably close this gap down under braking. Big slide by Renault just ahead of Buffalo. But the gap is open. And now it's getting wider and wider. This also could put Buffalo under threat from Warner. Farther down the order, EMS Hyphon. Kind of running in no man's land. He's at the back of this big train of cars that goes from himself all the way up to Canery. These are the fight for 5th position, but they're all just kind of in a big spread out draft train. No one really seems to have the advantage on each other right now. Again, we look at this fight in the top 3 positions. Renault has now opened up this gap to 300 feet over Buffalo. And there's still another big straightaway as well. This is where the Ferrari has its biggest advantage, these big straights. And by clearing Buffalo, keeping Buffalo out of his draft, Renault can really push the advantage that the Ferrari has in a straight line. And now Buffalo may have to worry about HYR Warner trying to run him down in a straight line. Warner does have a bit of engine damage though, so it will be harder for Warner to really put the screws to Buffalo. But Buffalo is going to be feeling that pressure from behind now. Our GT leaders go through Indianapolis and Arnage once again. This is typically where Buffalo would be able to close back in on Renault. And again, that Ferrari immediately opens up the gap and starts running away on the run up to the Porsche curves once again. But this will be the last big run that Renault gets. Buffalo's going to sneak up on him in the middle of the Porsche curves. That is inevitable. See, Buffalo has already cut that gap down to about half of what it was when they got off the straightaways. Renault has enough power to start opening the gap up again on the run into the Ford chicanes, but now Buffalo starts winding it back down once more. It's down to less than 150 feet as they came across the line, but again, Renault has a straight line speed advantage and starts opening it up against Buffalo once more. We're now seeing GT drivers in the form of Carver and Viper making their second pit stops. We're going to go ahead and knock out an ad break here, try and get ahead of the ads. When we come back, we'll likely see our GT leaders start making their second round of pit stops here at Circuit de la Sarthe. That's not bad. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. We ride on board with EMS Hyphon here. About 43 minutes have elapsed in our 100-minute stint here, our first night stint here at LeMans. Hyphon runs in 15th overall, 7th in total in GT. But we are waiting to see when our leaders in GT categories start to make their stops. Renault has actually broken away from Buffalo, but he is almost out of fuel. Buffalo now under threat from HYR Warner, but he'll be able to stay out another lap or two if he so chooses. Warner is going to have to pit this lap. Even though he has a moderate amount of fuel, his problem is engine damage, so Warner will have to pit to repair the engine. Warner's biggest problem seems to be that both tires since he has had thus far, he seems to get himself some engine damage about midway through the stint. If Warner could go through an entire stint and avoid engine damage, I think Warner could honestly clip Buffalo for second. He seems to be faster than Renault, but just a little bit more mistake prone. Warner pretends to go look to Buffalo's inside, but is not actually able to push the issue coming through the Porsche curves. You can just visibly see how much it all opens up between Buffalo and Warner through those S's. And here comes Renault into the pit this time, and he will be joined by Warner. So it takes him about 22 minutes, and then they need to pit. Buffalo seems to be able to go for something closer to 26 minutes. So Buffalo may be setting himself up for a really short final stop. He was able to go one lap farther than everyone else in the first stint. Could he go 2 laps farther now? Could he somersault the advantage forward? Canery. This car, it was a different driver, but this LMP BMW has been infamous for going long on the fuel stints and making it work. It got 4th place overall in stint 1, 2nd place overall in stint 2. And Canery is now continuing the run, trying to make the tires and fuel last a little longer than short pit late. It could still work out. And then you have 3rd right now in GT, who is also not yet pitted, Ferraris FM. This is a different one of the BMWs. Then you have to go all the way back to Koshi for the next GT car that has not yet made a stop. Well, just as we went away, we saw Virage have a big hiccup there over the curb, and that's not going to help them. Meanwhile, MRT Jackal finally pitting out 2nd position in the prototype category. And THR Vanthor, I was looking at his tire wear earlier, and The game seems to suggest that he really abused the crap out of those tires. Look at that 70% wear. He also seems to have a bit of engine and transmission damage as well. So Vanthor really pushing the limits on what that thing can do. DrIce, though, continues to lead. He has had an accident! DrIce has had an accident! No damage. He is still leading, but DrIce has had a spin right before coming on to the Mulsanne straight, and that could really upend things. This could be big news for Jackal and Vanthor and Seedwarf, drivers who have already made their second stop. DrIce, all by himself, an unenforced error. And now DrIce's chance of going 2 for 2 and Stint wins in the prototype category could be at risk. He'll have to recover from that spin. Goodie Bag, who is a little bit farther back from DrIce. A small amount of engine damage, but seems to be running fine. I imagine they'll be paying the next lap or two. Look at DrIce. Honestly, DrIce might be able to stay out for not just this lap, but one more lap if he so chooses. But DrIce with a spin at probably the most critical corner on the circuit, the corner that basically dictates your speed, for about 2/3 of the lap, and he's made a big mistake there. We'll have to keep an eye on that because this could put DrIce under threat from MRT Jackal once he finally pits. Ice and Goodie Bag are the only prototype drivers who have yet to make their second stop. DrIce is going about 25 minutes, I believe, between pit stops right now. We have a hiccup from cars right ahead. There's Godzilla and Carver who are having their own legitimate fight for position here. DrIce not really aggressive. He's very relaxed, dealing with traffic. He's fine with giving up some positions just so he can make sure he's clean through. But again, the big question is going to be, how much time has Ice lost to Jackal? Canery now pits out second position in GTs, but Buffalo is going to extend his lead to 2 laps offset compared to Renault and Warner. In the daytime, the overcut seemed to be the race-winning strat. We don't know yet if that's going to be the case in the night, because if the overcut is the race-winning strat, Buffalo is going to be way clear of Renault and Warner. Here comes DrIce into the pits now. Real quickly, I look at Renault and Warner. The gap between them is big enough that they're not really infecting each other yet, but if these two Ferraris start fighting, that could be the big thing that really gives Buffalo the advantage. But now, we look at Jackal as he is going through the Porsche curves now. DrIce in the pit lane. He lost a big chunk of time with a self-inflicted spin. Coming on to the Mulsanne straight. Ooh, Jackal, that's really wide. Can Jackal catch and overtake DrIce here? That's going to be the big question. Goodie Bag has stayed out, so we know Goodie Bag will leapfrog DrIce for the lead. But where will Jackal be in relation to DrIce? Ice is already coming out of the pit lane, but there he is! Jackal's around! Jackal to second! So that self-inflicted spin has now put DrIce between Jackal. So now, the dynamics in the prototype category change. Goodie Bag is on his own strategy going really long, so he's not the leader on merit. Now it is Dr. Jackal who is leaning on merit, and well, MRT Jackal is leaning on merit, and DrIce needs to make something happen. That gap, that's a pretty big gap between Ice and Jackal. And we still have yet to see Scored Buffalo and Virage make their second stops in the GT category. Farage could probably go for quite a bit longer if he so chooses, based on his fuel and tire wear. For Scored Buffalo, this will probably be the lap that he pits. He just doesn't have a lot of fuel left. Buffalo's been running these laps in cleaner air. But guess what? So has Renault and Warner. So it's clean air versus clean air. Renault has ran 2 laps now on fresher tires than Buffalo. But after Buffalo pits, Buffalo will have a significant tire advantage. Buffalo's able to go about 26 minutes between pit stops, Renault about 22. You do that math, Renault isn't really going to be pushing his tires to a ridiculous point, but Scored Buffalo is going to be looking at really, really short final stops, so this could go in a lot of different ways. For Amarillas, I'm going to be narrating the first 5 stints here in C lobby. Stint 6, I'll be taking a break. I'll be covering Stint 7 for the A lobby, so that way the broadcasters in A lobby can take a short break. And then I'll be sleeping, and then I'll be covering the final stint, Stint 12 for C lobby in the morning. So 7 overall out of the 12. All right, Buffalo's in the pits. Where is Renault going to end up in relation to Buffalo? This is the big question. The BMW will not be in the pit box yet. Oh no, he is already in the pit box. Never mind. Where's Renault going to be in relation to Buffalo? Forward chicanes once more for Renault. Buffalo's coming out of the pits. Here comes Virage, who has still not made another stop. I think Virage is running this stint on mediums. So Virage goes to the lead, and here comes Renault. Renault is there. He sees Buffalo from the back. He's got to get right up to the rear end. He's got to make the dive side by side in the Dunlop chicane. Buffalo's trying to get his tires at the tip, and Renault is by. Renault's got him. I cannot believe it, but Renault timed that just about perfectly. He is clear of Buffalo. There's just one problem, though. Is Renault far enough ahead to get away from Buffalo and deny Buffalo the draft in the straight? No, he is not. Buffalo's going to have the draft in the straight. So Renault and Buffalo now have to fight each other on merit once again. Buffalo to the inside already. So immediately the fight for what is second right now, but will likely be the overall GT lead, picks up. Cenarius is already making his 3rd stop. Drag race, but Renault has more straight line speed, but Buffalo's gonna go deeper into the first of the Mulsanne chicane. Renault slides the car twice in front of Buffalo. Buffalo backs out, puts the power down on exit. They'll be side by side coming out of the corner, but Renault has a superior straight line speed. Buffalo's got the draft, and Warner is there again. Warner is back on this fight once more. Buffalo to the inside now, and Warner's got a draft. Is Warner gonna try and make it 3 wide? And it doesn't look like it. But he is going to try and push Buffalo around the outside. Side by side for the lead in GT. And here come the prototype leaders. That is Jackal. And Buffalo is sideways. Renault is sideways. Warner tries to get a run. Here comes Jackal. He'll clear them all. Won't be helped too much as he gets by. And all 3 of these drivers are closing in on Virage FM, who's running on his own strategy, has not yet made his 2nd stop. So now it's the 2 Ferraris neck and neck. Warner now goes back to the lead. He spent a lot of this race up to this point in 3rd, but now he leads. Ferrari, BMW. Well, they're not technically it's Virage, but realistically, this is the fight for the lead. All right, nose to tail for these positions. And there goes DrIce, who needs to clear these guys so he can try and run down Jack and recover from that self-inflicted spin he had earlier. Renault looks to the inside, but Warner cuts him off. The black and white Ferrari now back in the lead. Power down. And Renault's opened up just a bit of a gap on Buffalo, and Warner has opened a bit of a gap on him. Here comes Sea Dwarf. third in the prototype, and he will clear them all. All right, through the S's now. Warner has it. Renault looking to the outside, trying to make it side by side in the S's. Renault is into the outside wall, and Buffalo gets in. There's contact, and they're both sideways. Buffalo saves it. Renault saves it. Somehow, they both save it. They're both going to lose a bunch of time to Warner, but Renault and Buffalo just about lost control. Somehow, the two of them saved it. I cannot believe that they kept it together. Good news for Warner, though, but not enough, because immediately Renault closes back in despite completely having the car at a 45-degree angle sideways. Second and third are already back on Renault on Warner's rear wing as they come across the line. And race through turn one, and here comes the fight for fourth. In prototypes between Vanthor and Microbio, they have to navigate their way through this traffic, and Buffalo's wide! Buffalo's into the dirt! No damage. He'll be able to continue, but Buffalo has now just lost a huge amount of time to the two Ferraris. Here comes the prototype trying to navigate the Ferraris. They get by Renault. Not too much problem. They get by Warner. Warner is compromised a bit. Now Vanthor is going to compromise Renault a bit. I think they're all going to end up roughly even with each other. No, Warner is compromised coming onto the straightaway. Renault has a better run coming onto the straight. Can he get a run? He's going to try and snip the draft off of Warner here. Does he have him? Does he have the draft of the Ferrari? He does! Ferrari on Ferrari action once again! Now coming down! The Mulsanne straight once more! Is he going to make a big dive into the first Mulsanne chicane? There is room on track, but he'll have to go way off the ideal line to do it. He'll have to push the brakes to the limit. No, he's going to hold back just for a moment. Trying to slide, both Ferraris sliding. The car is really having trouble getting maximum grip out of the rear tires, out of the slower corners, and Warner is actually going to open up the gap on Renault this time. Buffalo is far enough back that he is not able to get a draft off of this duo for right now. So Warner has it. Renault just trying to snip the draft just so he can close in. The Ferraris have been great in a straight line. If Renault could just catch Warner's draft, he could run him down. But the Ferraris have been struggling putting power down, and Renault has been struggling more than Warner with that. All right, out of the second Mulsanne chicane. But Warner has opened up that gap. He's got to be at a nearly 200-foot gap between himself and Renault as they come into the Mulsanne corner once more. Buffalo is so far back, he is not going to have a direct impact on this fight, not unless these two end up making some mistakes here. Through Mulsanne corner, one of the slower corners on track, and you put the throttle down onto the longest straightaway here at LeMans, and it looks like Warner has it. Warner spent most of the second run on the fuel and tires in third, just kind of hanging out with a damaged engine, but right now he has really come to life, and Warner has gone to the point here. All right, into the Indianapolis and Arnaz section once more. Warner very smooth through, keeps the car off the dirt. That's the most important thing. You do not want to get into the dirt and slow the car down. Warner is relatively clean track ahead, clean track behind. The rear end is really sliding out. Boy, that rear end slid out though, going through Arnaz. But he's able to maintain the majority of the momentum through, and he'll power on forward. All right, so now the focus is going to be on Scored Buffalo, because while Buffalo is way behind Renault for now, he is going to close a bunch here into the Porsche S's, because Buffalo has a car that has much fresher tires. This is going farther on his rubber, and he's in a car that's generally been better handling in the S's and these more twisty, downforce focused corners. How much can Scored Buffalo close on these two Ferraris through here? Not as much as you would think. It seems like the Ferraris have an outright advantage right now. Buffalo close a little bit, but not really enough. He's not in a position to really get a draft and try to fight with them here. Through the Ford chicanes now. Buffalo in that heavier, slightly more downforce focus. BMW machine does not have as much trouble putting the power down out of the corners. see our GT leaders. It looks like Renault has caught Warner. And there's Goodie Bag in the prototypes. He'll have to be navigating these drivers shortly here. Alright. GT, fight for a lead is on once again. Renault has closed in on Warner just a bit. If Renault has a good run through this corner, he can get a good toe off of Warner and try to make us fight for it. Goodie Bag is going to cut to the inside of Renault. Now cut to the outside of Warner. Is Renault close enough this time for a draft? I think he is. Yes, he is. Ferrari is going to be fighting Ferrari as they come onto the Mulsanne chicane once more. These two are even on strategy. They're even on performance. It is a mano-y-mano fight between this duo right now. Renault does not make a big move into the first Mulsanne chicane. Warner doesn't make a big move trying to defend either. But all that means is that Renault is now even closer to Warner as they're on to the second of the three sections of the Mulsanne chicane. There's just about nose to tail. Renault is going to look to the inside, going to try and pull up alongside, side by side, as they come to the second Mulsanne chicane. Renault has the advantage. He goes in deep. The car slides on him, but he brakes early enough. He'll barely keep the car in front of Warner, so Renault now goes back to the lead in front of Warner here. Warner now has the draft, and now he's the one closing back in on Renault. Nose to bumper as they come into the Mulsanne corner again. Not the greatest run through Mulsanne corner for either of those two, but it looks like Warner actually had to back out just a bit to not hit Renault, and the gap's opened up just a bit in Renault's favor. Warner should have the draft, should be able to use that to start closing the gap down. That's exactly what happens. Here we go. Ferrari closing back in on Ferrari, coming into the fastest corner on the track again. I don't think Warner is close enough to make a big dive here. Warner slides the rear tires just a bit. Renault's into the dirt. It brings Warner right back up behind him again. Out of Mulsanne. Bit of a twitch from Renault. Warner a little bit smoother this time. Warner is right behind. He's got a toe. Is he going to try and make a move right before the Porsche curves? You can see that Buffalo has significantly fallen off of this duo right now. So despite having a significant tire advantage, the overcut that Buffalo has been working on just does not seem to be giving him that advantage anymore. Renault is wide. He slaps the outside wall again in the Porsche curves. Here comes Cenarius, who is second to last in the prototypes. He has to navigate around these two. He'll get around Warner without too much problem, but he's held up by Renault. I don't think Cenarius will have really compromised these two at all. And now here they come. The Ferraris diving into the pits now. So we should see a lead go back to Buffalo, who is pitting at least 2, maybe 3 laps later than this duo at this stage of the event. Whew. 36 minutes left in the event. We're going to go ahead and take an ad break, and when we come back, we'll get a good idea as to where the entire field is running here. Just a little bit past halfway here at Stint C Lobby 3 of TORA's 24 Hours at Le Mans. Immediately they got back to it. What in the devil? Immediately. There's like no hesitation, and immediately they get back to it. I can't even use the bathroom. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Circuit de la Sarthe. This duo of Warner and Renault will not stop fighting. It is a drag race. Literally, these two came out of the pits, immediately started fighting. They were in the middle of a fight with Virage FM, who was on an alternate strategy, but they've already pretty much disposed of him, and these two are back to fighting. Buffalo is still reigning clean air right now, going on, and maybe Buffalo will be able to clip them after he makes his stop, but good lord, this duo will not let it go. They are constantly going back and forth for this position. I'm gonna blow my voice out just commentating over this fight. They will not stop. I thought last stint was crazy. Last stint had a lot more drivers up front, but you actually had moments where it was a little bit more relaxed. This duo will not stop. They've been on top of each other for about the last 20 minutes. It seems like they exchange positions at least once to twice a lap. Every lap. And it might be coming again. Warner's got another run on Renault into Indianapolis. Renault really sliding the tires, trying to keep it out of the dirt. He lost a bunch of time there. Warner's right behind. Warner is smart enough to not dive into the Arnage corner. And for now, Renault still has it. Warner just within drafting range, though. That's Virage FM a little bit behind, but Virage is on an alternate strategy. He ran his second stint on the medium tires instead of the softs, trying to get on an alternate strategy. All right, this time Renault did not touch the outside wall, but he does touch the inside dirt just a little bit. Warner sliding out behind, Renault sliding, and then Warner slides. Canery will pit out of the second position. And again, Canery, we know that LMP BMW M8 has been going long on most of their stints, and it's really worked out well for them. We'll keep an eye on them later. That is, I believe, 5th place Vanthor. No, that is Kimpachi, who was 8th, who just went by the GTs. And here we come! Renault had a bit of a hiccup there in the second half of the 4 chicanes because of the prototypes. And Warner is there. They're side by side once again. Neck and neck. And it looks like Warner's going to dive deeper as they come to the Dunlop chicane. Renault tries to cross him over. Can't get the power down, but Warner slides right in front. And now Virage is back in the middle of the fray. Renault has to back out. And Virage is back on Renault's rear wing. The fight that just won't quit. All right, on to the straight once again. Warner has it, but Renault has the draft, and Virage FM, who is in a BMW, also has the draft on both of this duo. It's not the BMW that these guys were fighting with earlier, but it is another BMW that they have to deal with. Renault to the inside of Warner, again side by side as they come into the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Renault has the car about halfway ahead, goes deep under braking, slides in front of Warner, and it looks like he's got it. Warner actually has to back out just a little bit. But now Warner is the one who will have the draft off of Renault as they go down the middle third of the Mulsanne straightaway. And Virage FM has the draft off of both of them, ready to capitalize if either of them make a mistake. Renault seems to be a little bit smoother in the second chicane this time, and Virage actually put Warner under a real bad amount of pressure. All right, real quickly, I want to focus on a different fight here. DrIce started on pole, kind of walked off for a bit, but had a spin about, 30 minutes ago, I believe, right in this corner here, and lost the lead to MRT Jackal. Now, DrIce and Jackal are on slightly different strategies right now. Jackal is not faster than DrIce, but DrIce is trying to dig himself out of the hole by that self-inflicted spin. And DrIce is now running down Jackal. So we now have a fight beginning to develop here at the head of the prototype category. It was a self-inflicted issue by DrIce, but he has the speed. He might be able to pull himself out of this mess. Warner and Renault continue to fight for what is currently second overall in the GT category. Everyone has 19 minutes to knock out the remaining stops. That really is looking like it might hurt Scored Buffalo and maybe Virage FM the most. Those are the two who still have to make 2 more stops in this event. And Scored Buffalo is in the pits now. DrIce closing in on Jackal. Important thing to remember, they are on slightly alternate strategies. Right now, DrIce is on much fresher tires than Jackal is. He'll be going for a little bit long. Oh no, they're actually on the exact same, so somehow they have to resync their strategies back up with each other, it would appear. So DrIce is now just catching Jackal on merit. Virage FM still staying out for now. Oh, and he is really putting the screws to Renault. So Warner has actually opened up the gap just a little bit. Where's Scored Buffalo? Has Buffalo come out of the pits yet? Here comes Buffalo. He's turned all these laps in cleaner air. Is he going to be ahead of Warner? He is ahead of Warner, but Warner's got Warner tires. We've seen this fight happen 2 times before. Can Warner make it a 3rd time? They can nip Buffalo. Coming through the Dunlop chicane. Not this time. Buffalo has a little bit more of a gap over Warner. Renault has spent so much time fighting with Virage this time that now it is Warner who is the one trying to fight with Buffalo. We have a fight for a lead in GT, a fight for a lead in Protos. I don't know which one to focus on. Coming into the front straightaway, Jackal barely holds station over DrIce. DrIce has the draft off of Jackal. All right, into the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Scored Buffalo stays just ahead of Warner, but Warner is tucked up right behind the BMW. Buffalo has no problem putting power down out of the chicanes, but the straight is so long that that advantage is kind of negated. And then not just that, Warner has the draft as well. He's pulling up. He's going to be alongside potentially. Is he going to make the move? If he does, it looks like he's going to try and make it really late, maybe as late as possible. No, he is not. He's going to hold back just for now. So Buffalo leads for just a little bit longer. And here's this. Look at this fight for the prototype lead. They are going to be dealing with GT traffic here. We got on board DrIce. That is Jackal. This is the fight for the prototype lead here. As many cars as these drivers can pass in a straight line is going to help them out the most. But if Jackal gets held up by GT traffic in one of the slower corners, or DrIce is held up by GT traffic in one of the slower corners, that could be what decides this. Here we go. Second Mulsanne chicane this time. Relatively clear track for both of them. AMS Carver is not going to pose an issue for either of this duo. Not this time, at least. Real quickly, I look again at the fight in the GT lead. Through Indianapolis and Arnage. Buffalo still has it over Warner. Trying to keep an eye on 2 different fights for a lead in 2 different categories right now. Buffalo has the position, but Warner is closing down. Does he make a dive coming into the Porsche S's? Try to get Buffalo unsettled in the best part of the track for that BMW. He puts the bumper to Buffalo's rear end, but he's not going to push the issue. Buffalo will open up the gap just a little bit here for the prototypes. Now they come through Indianapolis and Arnage. Jackal's going to be held up by Godzilla right here in Arnage. DrIce is held up, but much, much less. Here it comes! Ice looking at the inside, but he's not close enough to really make anything of it. Renault is pitting. Virage is pitting. So Renault is making his final stop. He will not pit. He will run again. He will make the last 24 minutes of this race on whatever fuel and tires he runs. Virage is making his third stop. So right now it looks like it's Warner and Buffalo at the head of the field in GT. But in prototypes, it is mano y mano. There is no more strategy difference. There is not really a car difference. They are right on top of each other, trying to figure out how to best navigate each other and the GT traffic ahead of them. As Henrique was fine for what might be 5th overall in GT. Jackal goes to his inside. DrIce follows without issue. Up to the Dunlop chicane once more. Jackal slides just a little bit, sliding that rear end out. DrIce pulls up behind. The Dunlop S's now. Jackal really sliding the rear of that thing out. I think that Jackal probably is running a little bit less downforce on the rear, and that's probably why he's sliding the rear so much. All right, on to Mulsanne once more. Ice tucked up behind Jackal. Ice seems to have a big draft advantage. Is he gonna push it? Is this gonna be where he makes the move? Maybe not. Looks like the gap is now opening back up. Jackal has a big enough advantage in the straight line. He's able to keep DrIce behind and actually pull on him even when DrIce has the draft. But look how much DrIce closes coming out of the slower chicanes. He looks to the inside, side by side, but now Jackal with that ultra low downforce setup is already opening the gap once more on DrIce. Even though Ice has the draft, Jackal is opening the gap, coming up to the second chicane here on Mulsanne now. Oh gosh, Jackal sliding really wide. DrIce, nice, smooth, consistent on corner exit. But Jackal is opening the gap in the straightaways. Even though DrIce has gained the draft, Jackal has such a good straight line speed setup. DrIce is up here, right up his rear wing. This is the closest it's been for a while, but he's not going to push the issue. Not into Mulsanne corner. It's a little bit too slow. But this is the closest it's been. 24, 23 feet. Ice looks to the inside once more. Jackal on the outside, Ice on the inside. Is this it? Is this gonna be the fight for the win that defines this? Ice trying to recover from a self-inflicted spin. He's already passed Jackal most of the way. They go deep into Indianapolis. Ice is by. He slides the rear end out. Here they are coming up on the fight in the GT lead. Warner is second in this. He is now held up. He now ends up holding up Rice, who is the leader in prototypes. But it looks like Rice is by. Jackal has a bit of a run. He's got a draft on DrIce. Can he try and catch Ice before they get to the Porsche S's? Up to the Porsche curves now. The gap is too big, I think. Ice. It took a long time, but it looks like he is fast enough. He has just about cleared Jackal. And I think DrIce is going to be able to recover from that self-inflicted spin earlier. He should now have the lead in category and should start being able to open up and scoot away with about 20 minutes left in the event. Jackal closing in on DrIce. Ice has a big slide! A big slide! He's into the dirt! And I don't believe in jinx, but I may have jinxed it! Jackal is now back in front! Ice! He had the lead, and he threw it away in the final chicane of the track. And now he only has 20 minutes to try and run Jackal back. No, oh no, he's damaged. He's hit something. It didn't look like he hit anything, but he's hit something. The car's damaged. That's it. I don't know what he hit. It didn't look like he hit anything, but DrIce has hit something. His car is damaged. It's destroyed. Oh no, Resno, who was positioning himself for a third place finish. He's out, and now there's only one Ferrari fighting for a potential overall win against Score Buffalo and GT. Drama on top of drama on top of drama here at Le Mans in these closing minutes. But DrIce, the car is destroyed. I don't know what happened. I have to wonder, did he hit a curb? And when he hit a curb, they ended up destroying the car. I know Silverstone has a real problem with turn 1 and 2. The curbs will actually destroy the entire front end of the car if you hit them wrong. Was that what took DrIce out of it this time? He had just taken the lead back, and now the car is destroyed on the front. He's going to lose the win. He's likely going to lose second to Sea Dwarf, will likely lose third to Vanthor as well. And Jackal, while he's not been the fastest driver today, he might be able to pull off this prototype win just by being a little bit cleaner. Meanwhile, in GT, it's Buffalo versus Warner. I'm going to knock out an ad break here, and when we come back, we will stay with the race to the end. Don't go away. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. We're right on board with DrIce as he makes his final stop. But this stop is not one he is making out of necessity. Although he did have to make a final stop, DrIce is pitting to repair damage that he took in the Ford chicanes. Probably the worst part of the track. Had to limp around the entire track where they destroyed car. He was leading, spun, recovered from the spin, had just taken the lead from this man here, MRT Jackal. But then had a big accident. Well, not an accident, but a big damage incident against the curbs, we believe. And now DrIce is likely not even going to get a top 5 finish here in prototype. HYR Warner pits his Ferrari. With 35 minutes left, Scored Buffalo is going to stay out just a little bit longer. So while Warner and Renault, who had been fighting with him for a long period, but while Warner and Renault and the Ferraris had been overall stronger, it seemed, Buffalo has been keeping himself in play. By virtue of this, look at these numbers. Look at that. All 4 corners on the car only at 19% wear. He is the only driver I am aware of in this game that is able to maintain tire wear evenly across all 4 corners. This lets him be a lot more relaxed and go much, much deeper into the fuel and tire stints. He can put out some great laps when the tires are falling off because they are falling off nice and evenly. It is such an incredibly important skill. Buffalo seems to understand how to tune the car and how to do that, and that seems to be a big thing that's putting him in this position. Now, the big thing is Warner has made his stop already. Buffalo has not made his final stop yet. He will likely be making his final stop as he comes up to the line this time. When that race timer says 30 minutes flat. Everyone needs to have completed their mandatory 4th stop of the day. The question is, will everyone have done it? We had an issue, sadly, with ZR Amaryllis in Stint 1, where he was not able to do that. Kind of derailed and upset his running. Real shame there. Really kind of took away what looked like a fantastic drive on an alternate strategy. Now it's all about Buffalo. And to a lesser extent, Virage, who's running a bit behind him. Will they be able to avoid making that mistake? That's Sea Dwarf, who is 4th in prototypes right now, going by. A potential fight might come out here for 2nd place in protos between Microbio and THR Vanthor. They're not right on top of each other, but Vanthor has a mistake. He starts dealing with engine damage. There's no way those numbers are accurate. There's no way those numbers are accurate. There's no way Vanthor is at 100% tire life. Right? Surely not. There's no way Vanthor is at 100% tire life. Well, either way, he's going to be pinning this time. Jackal's pitted. Microbio will be pinning as well. And we anticipate Goodie Bag will be pinning shortly as well. Okay. Scored Buffalo, the leader in the GT category. He should be pitting this time by. Question is going to be, where will he end up in relation to HYR Warner? There's also Virage FM who will be pitting. Virage ran his 2nd run on tires on mediums instead of softs. So I'm really curious to see where he's going to end up in relation to the likes of Henrique, Godzilla, Canry, and Efson. Something going on here with these two? Yes, this is a pair of BMWs having a legitimate fight to the end here. Both of these drivers have already made their final stops. This is the fight for 6th. All right, so Jackal now goes back to the lead over Sea Dwarf and THR Vanthor. Microbio just a little bit behind Vanthor. We could have a fight for 3rd step on podium here in the prototype category. But what about the fight for GT category lead? Buffalo is in the pits. Warner hoping that he can try and catch him. Oh, that Ferrari is sliding all over the place. He's already got a bit of engine damage, which is not going to help. But Warner's already got nice warm tires. Buffalo will have to get his tires up to temperature. Virage now making their stop. We'll try and get an idea as to where they will end up afterwards. Where is Buffalo? Has he come out of the pits yet? Here he comes. He's out of the pits. He's got quite a lead over Warner. Warner is closing, but I don't think he's close enough. Right on board with Warner. That's Buffalo up ahead. That's a gap. That's a pretty big gap. I think that's over. Buffalo should have enough time to get his tires up to 10 before Warner catches him. I think it's over. I think Buffalo's got the GT category win. This also makes it look like Henrique is going to get another 3rd place result in the Ford GT camp. But what about 3rd for the prototypes here with about 11 minutes left? It is Vanthor versus Microbio. Vanthor has the position. Microbio should have the draft. Racing Bacon is making his 5th different stop today. Frustration for Bacon. He won Stint 2, but now it looks like he's going to be near the back of the grid here at the end of Stint 3. Boy, you can hear those tires squealing, and he's gone off! Vanthor went off! Right in Indianapolis! It says the tires are still cooked. There's no way that's accurate. There's no way that's accurate. Well, whatever the case is, Microbio now goes to the lead here in prototypes with about 10 minutes left exactly and is already opening the gap. Well, if there's something wrong with Van Thor, I would find it very easy to believe because of the way he slid off there. So Van Thor, who was running top 3 most of the day in prototypes, well, about 4th most of the day in prototypes, now finds himself slipping back to 4th once again. And if you want to talk about frustration in the prototype category, DrIce, dominant, got out in front, had a self-inflicted spin, fell to 2nd, manually raced his way up through the track, got the lead back with about 20 minutes left, then had an instant through here that damaged the car and has dropped him back to 5th. There may be a chance he can steal 4th off of Van Thor. I think Microbio is a bit out of contention, but DrIce knows that he should be standing on top of the podium here. But it looks like it's just not to be. After making that final stop, Virage has ended up in 6th, but this is not over yet. He's fighting with Canery for 5th. Virage is going to be pushing a moderate tire advantage now to the end of this. This is 3 BMWs all on top of each other for position. Canery really sends it in on entry. Virage tries to do something on exit. Canery into the dirt. Side by side tournage. And Virage might have him. Accelerating out. 3 BMWs all on top of each other. Virage, Canery, and Hyphon. All of them on different tire strats, but all of them will not have to pit to the end here. This is the fight for 5th in GT. Canery inside, Virage outside. Into the Porsche curves. And Virage has ran a little bit wide. Canery goes deep. No, Hyphon's going to get by Virage here. Virage just barely keeps it out of the wall that time. Tucks up behind Hyphon, but there's not really anywhere to go. Virage needs to get back by Hyphon. Boy, he thought about pulling up alongside, but the track just was not wide enough there. He'll be 3rd in line in this fight. What do you do when the 2 cars you have to beat are on the same car as you? They have all the same positive benefits. The only thing that Virage really has in his favor is that he has a tire advantage that will last him to the end. 7 minutes left, so these drivers will finish this lap and do the majority of another lap afterwards. A look at this. Hyphon and Virage are fighting so high, so hard, it's letting Canery kind of scoot away just a little bit. Virage. He's got a big draft on Hyphon. But even if he passes him, he needs to clear Hyphon and immediately start running down Canery if he wants any chance of catching him. That is ZR Fabrics, who was last. There was a lobby hiccup by the lobby host that put him in the wrong category. So Fabrics, his day was kind of over before it began. He is way down on power this entire event, so I don't imagine Fabrics is really going to have a big impact on this fight. Because Virage on Canery now. He's got by Hyphon. He's gained by Canery. He's going to try and use Fab as a pick, but it doesn't work. Canery hits Virage. Virage puts the power down, but Fabrics is right there. They're 3 wide just for the moment. And here comes the 3rd BMW now of Hyphon. Hyphon's back. Canery inside. Virage outside. Hyphon hangs out right behind them. Contact. They're all 3 wide through Mulsanne. Virage backs out of it. He'll get a good toe off the 2 of them. Henry has the position. Virage trying to get it back now. All right, Hyphon. Now he goes to the inside of Henry. Side by side. Heading to Indianapolis and Arnage once again. Hyphon pulls back in front of Henry. Does Henry send it deep? No one really goes too deep this time. Virage closes in a bit, but not enough to do anything. Hyphon's in the dirt. Henry follows him. Virage tries to go around the outside. Hard to the outside wall. Goes Virage, but he keeps going. He's going to complete the pass on the outside of Henry. Power down. He's by. Now it's Hyphon over Virage over Henry. You know, most of this day was BMW versus Ferrari and Ferrari, but now it is a BMW menage a trois in this fight for 5th in GT. Virage tucks up once more behind Hyphon. These drivers have a little less than a lap left. Ooh! Virage ran wide. That wasn't Virage, it was Henry went wide. Hyphon goes wide. And look at that, Virage, nice and smooth on the inside of one of the more difficult corners to overtake at. Virage has the position now. Henry has really fallen off all of a sudden. Has he pushed his tires too far? Oh, he's only at 18. What of Hyphon? He's at 30. Ooh. So his tires are really cooking them. Virage, we know, should be at some of the best tires of everyone. Yeah, 13. And I think that tire advantage is going to be the thing that really works out in Virage's favor here. The only thing is that Hyphon is going to have a lot of draft in these closing moments. Pretty much every other position is decided. Like DrIce is close enough to catch Van Thor. So this is going to be the fight to the end. 5th in GT. But Virage had such a good time putting the power down coming out onto the Mulsanne. Has he broken the draft against Hyphon? I think he has. Hyphon had a slightly better first Mulsanne chicane that time. And Hyphon also had the draft from a prototype. Tries to use it to close in just a little bit on Virage. But Virage is already opening the gap. Henry does not seem to be close enough to do anything to Virage or Hyphon. I think Virage has it by virtue of running on that medium stint on tires. He's put himself on a significant tire advantage here at the very end. Cenarius is pitting again in the closing minutes. What's happened? Has he damaged the car or has he just ran out of fuel? Oh, that car is destroyed. He has had a big accident somewhere on track. The only good news is that he is about a half lap ahead of Kimpachi, so he's still going to hold 7th over him. Carver in the Ford GT. This is the highest of the Ford. No, this is not the highest. Actually, that is Henrique. I've not talked a lot about Henrique in this stint, but Henrique was 3rd overall in distance in stint 1. I was looking to be 3rd overall in distance in stint 2 as well. So Henrique is definitely making some good out of these runs here. 35 seconds left in the event. Scored Buffalo. He was not dominating this one. But he was calm, he was relaxed, pushed the advantage of his tire and his ability to set up the tires to not burn up unevenly. And he's easily going to win this stint. That BMW couldn't even get a top 5 result in the first 2 stints. Although it was 7th in stint 2, it was a very close 7th. The top 7 were all relatively close to each other. But now Buffalo's going to finish stint 3 with a great win. Warner will be 2nd in the Ferrari. Time's up. Over. Plow. And that will do it here. As we look across the entire field, this is Jackal, your prototype winner. Not the fastest, but most consistent. Second place goes to Sea Dwarf. That is an awkward place to stop your car at, to say the least. Third place will be Microbio. Had a great run to the end to steal third when this was really a fifth place car for the most part of the day. Then you have THR Vanthor finishing about where he started. DrIce was probably the most frustrated out of everyone in the prototype category. Fifth, but it's a far distance fifth when he knows he should have won. Goodie Bag will be here in sixth. Scenarius had an accident very late, but has enough of a gap to maintain his position over Kampasi Rambasama, who came home eighth and last of the prototypes. In GT, it was Scored Buffalo in the BMW who wins. In second place is HYR Warner, the highest of the Ferraris. Then SRT Henrique in the Ford GT. And we got another drunk French cameraman here. Fourth place will be VGT Godzilla. We didn't talk a lot about him, but he puts the next highest BMW in fourth. Fifth will be EMS Hyphon, followed by Virage FM and LMP Kaimer. How did Hyphon get ahead of Virage? I don't know how. Then it would be Carver. Then it would be Viper. I don't know why Racing Bacon is moving on his own right now. Then we have Viper, then Koshi, and then ZR Fabrics. Yeah, here's Viper. Here's Koshi. And Fabrics. Don't really know what Racing Bacon's doing in Ghost Mode. I'm guessing he's just trying to record distances. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and knock out an ad break here, and hopefully when we come back, we'll be able to get some interviews with some of our top finishers in the various categories here at LeMans. All right, welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. Right now, we're just waiting. Once we see MRT Jackal move, we'll know that distance gathering will be mostly done, and we'll be able to go ahead and start throwing out interviews here. We are running a little bit behind schedule. Hopefully, it's not going to completely derail the event, but hopefully not going to completely derail everything. But don't worry, if we aren't, whether we get interviews in or not, I will still be here to broadcast Stint 4 and 5. I do want to say thank you to IDNax for what I believe is a gift sub. So that's a first. Never got one of those before. Thank you to them. Also, thank you to Amarillas. Thank you for, honestly, a lot of people. It's honestly been one of the more populated streams I've had in a while broadcasting. Still haven't gotten any word from Jackal moving on yet, sadly. But here we are. We do have some people coming in the lobby here. HYR Warner, are you able to hear us? Are you able to hear me? All right. Yep, I hear you. Let me go ahead and double check that you can include your audio. All right, in the Xbox party, there should be an option to include your audio. Go ahead and do that when you get a chance, please.
I've ticked it.
All right, sweet. Well, very interesting day for you, to say the least. Just seemed to be kind of elbows out all day long, but in the end, it looks like a top 3 result. We believe second at the end. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
I think the run was pretty consistent. Obviously, fighting with 2 other drivers isn't great, but looking at the pitch strats, it was quite obvious what the BMW was doing, trying to offset and gain a little bit of a lead, which he was doing in the end.
I will say, seems like that Ferrari of yours seemed to keep taking engine damage as the event goes on. Was there any reason in particular why that was happening? I know some of the prototypes are having that problem, but it seems like your Ferrari was having problems with just accumulating small amounts of engine damages as the tire stints were going on.
Yeah, I think one of the downsides to the way I drive around this track is the corner tetrus. Sometimes I take it in 4th, and that kind of works if I can get the momentum. If I'm slow out the corner, I have to downshift, but because I'm going so quick, it sort of hits the rev limiter, I get engine damage, and then, yeah, it's not good. But I only have to watch out until about 3%, and then it starts to affect the car a little bit.
All right, well, second place result here. I do have to ask, who's going to be taking over the car here in Stint 4?
The person taking over, let me just have a look. Where is it? Stint control. The person going to be taking over is Calclo, and then from Calclo, it's going to be me again.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to maybe talking to you again at the end of Stint 5. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right, we're going to end this broadcast here, but first I want to read this through. This was in the Twitch chat, so I just want to give you, this is from Jackal, who ended up winning overall. Jackal says, quote, "That was wild. Good race to DrIce. I feel horrible when he saw him went off. He said he felt good out there. It started kind of cold, lol. But then after the first 20 minutes went off, he started catching up and could keep it pretty consistent till the end. Now, yes, Z will hop on the car to keep doing what they've been doing. So thank you, Jackal, for that heads up. Anyways, I'm going to end this stint here, this stint broadcast, but don't go away because I'll end the stint broadcast and then within a minute, I'll have the next stint broadcast up here at LeMans. Until then, thank you very much for joining. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.